Good morning, guys. Okay. Wait for some people to come in. What's up? All right. Bitcoin's been nonstop dropping, eh? You got the war going on. I don't know if you guys have been watching or keeping track of that. Pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, we got a couple things to go over today. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. That's what's up, Sports Zone? How you doing, Matthew? All right, so I think we got enough people to start talking about Bitcoin. Morning, Ian. How you doing, man? Okay. Well, Bitcoin, we've got, just a couple things to go over. We've lost the 50-day EMA over the weekend, and we used it as resistance on the lower and higher time frames right here, while simultaneously using this valley area as resistance. Pretty crazy. Mic's not connected. No mic. You guys not able to hear me? Okay. It's not using your good mic. Okay. Thanks for that. My power went out, so it might have messed up my stuff here. Audio, mic. There we go. Got it fixed here. Does that sound a lot better? All right, cool. Sorry about that. All right. So yeah, it's just the power went out and all my stuff was turned off, and sometimes it messes up your settings on OBS and StreamYards. But yeah, okay. So let's go over Bitcoin. Now that we got more peeps here, we basically just used this previous valley area here as support, right? We're using it as support consistently, trying to escape with a higher high to define a potential stronger run, but we failed to create that higher high, right? And then we started to form a double top. When we came down through here, our neckline created a daily bearish change of character. When we broke that low right here. And I was hoping for, over the weekend, a potential SFP off these lows. And we had a good 15-minute SFP here. If we zoom in on lower time frames, we got a decent one here. But it ran up, and then we hit our head off of the 50-day EMA, built consolidated against it, and then lost support and aggressively fell below that previous valley area low from that demand zone, while simultaneously hitting our head off that 50-day EMA. And now we're coming down, and we're giving the macro valley area high right now an opportunity to act as resistance. And if it does, we could see acceptance, proper acceptance into this valley area here. And when that happens, we usually get a full rotation down to the valley area low. We just had a bounce off of, kind of slight front run to it, but we got a bounce off of the previous area of consolidation here. Right? We had this demand zone here, just like how we treat this as demand zone because of its behavior of a impulse move base, another impulse move. We got this zone right here that could hold us up too. And we had an aggressive bounce off of it so far, but it depends on how we behave against this value area high here. If we use this as resistance and create a lower low, then we could end up having a full rotation down, hitting that 200-day EMA in confluence with that previous value area low. Where I'm expecting if we do come down there, then we're going to have a really strong bounce, and I would definitely recommend preparing for potential longs down there. Look at like the 15-minute time frame. Look for like an opposing change of character or whatever your rules are. If all your bullish rules are in line at that zone, like this is a good zone of confluence to prepare for potential longs. If we get that full rotation down, right now on the 15-minute, we had a bullish change of character here. When we got that break, we're at the previous macro value high. This is the key level that I'm watching right now. Like if this were to break, there might be front run opportunities. Like there was one right here when we had this 15-minute SFP right here with this candle. We swept up this liquidity here, close back inside the local range, stop loss above the high, entry on that candle. And at this point, you be mindful of this as your primary barrier, but we've already surpassed it. Right now, we got a tweezer reaction, and it's engulfing, and it closed below the VWAP, so it's looking bearish again here. For a moment, like after the break of this momentum and getting above the VWAP, you'd think, oh, maybe we'll have a bullish run, but quickly shut down with the tweezer, and now we're back below the VWAP and below the previous macro value high. But yeah, if we get this level right here is like a key level for, let's see, we'll be here now. So if this breaks at 100,918, we can get a full rotation back down. I'll be watching this zone right here of interest, around 98,900 to 99,300. This bullish order block in line with this area of interest and this little demand zone. Now we could fall down earlier, like further, all the way down to the value area low and grab the liquidity from this low here. But this is a pretty strong area of interest that I'd watch out for, just in case it causes opposing change of character. I would listen to the market and exit early. But yeah, that's Bitcoin in lower time frames and the macro. We'll see what happens here, but basically that's the key level that I want to have broken, and then we can use the local created high as potential stop loss. Like right now would be the create around here, and see if our R&R is worth it. Yeah, so right to our 2-hour barrier concerns of 1 to 2, 2.5. It could evolve to be something greater, like a 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. But 2-hour barriers, that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm gonna set an alarm for this. Only once. I think it'd be worth typing this up as a signal. That. Yeah. So we want to have a 15-minute candle close below 100,918. So I'm just gonna type this up really quick, guys. I promised some members of the community that if we ever found something like safe to trade inside the YouTube lives, that I would post them as well inside the community in case they are not able to attend the lives. So Bitcoin, that's just short. Trade summary. Okay. Entry condition. Target. Stop loss suggestion and target. Almost done. Sorry, guys. And usually I type with more detail on these signals, but I don't want to take up your guys' time. So like 100. Okay. Thanks, guys. Is anyone getting bear market vibes? I'm kind of getting so the conditions of um, the conditions of the on-chain analytics suggest no, like it's not likely going to be a bear market, but the conditions of like the world right now seems bear market vibes. Like when you have a war and stuff like that happening, um, it's easy to see a potential massive correction from it. But normally, like historically, wars boost the economy. So it's the fear will cause sell pressure, but as we get closer to the end of it, normally we have a huge rally and reaction to it. So we'll see. Let's see what happens. The price action will tell us. Like if we get a acceptance into this valley area, for example, and get that lower low, then the price actions are going to tell us that we have acceptance into the valley area, right? And that can give us a drawdown to like 93,000. But bigger picture wise, like we're still at much higher highs than we ever have been before with Bitcoin. And every single time we've gotten a new all-time high, we've had a 30% correction. And I'm wondering if that's what's just going to happen again. 30% correction from 112K and see how it goes from there. But so at around 93K, I'm going to potentially jump into a coin margin long using Bitcoin as collateral instead of USDT. And those are the kind of trades I like to take when they're more longer term stuff. All right, I got the post set up for everybody. Okay, so we got a request to look at. Do you see any potential trades for today? Yeah, just this one here. We're looking at potential 15-minute candle close below this key level. We would have the confluence of the rejection off the macro value area high, the confluence of change of character occurrence, the confluence of we have the VWAP on our back at a local value area high. And that could cause a full rotation down to the value area low, but we're being mindful of this barrier here along the way, where most of the volume-based interest is within this young value area. Let's see what we might not get the candle close below this and continue to go up, which would help invalidate our trade. But the full invalidation comes from this being our key level if we break above this high. Okay. Trying to follow both here and Brian weekly open call. Yeah, I hear you. I'm going to be changing my Monday morning schedule so that it fits around Brian's call, so it doesn't interfere with people trying to focus on his stuff. Noah wants to look at Link and Dot. I was looking at Link yesterday. I guess 2 days ago. We were talking about this supply concern here. Or were we actually talking about a different one? Yeah, it went down further. That's crazy. Yeah, so we've got here was what we were looking at during our last live. We were like wanting to like prepare for potential longs, but we had supply concern here, and Bitcoin's like positioning was pretty bearish. So if anyone took any potential, I know Brian and I were looking at longs here. We had this double descending double bottom here. Get the change of character, so it flipped bullish here, and you can start targeting like this value area high, basically. After a break of this downtrending momentum, out of value area low. So all my rules were basically met when this broke here. But we, with a suggestive stop loss area, which would be here, you would have been fine through all this chop. But man, was that ever annoying. End up breaking this and then hitting the target shortly afterwards, and got that full rotation up to our supply concern right here, and fully mitigated it here. So if we come up through here, this is not going to be a problem again. Well, at least not for this reasoning. So this could be updated to about here when we left. So we use our value area as resistance. And now we're way down here. Just breaking our momentum right here. And now we're at like a same kind of scenario where we're at a supply concern right here. And our bearish key level is here. This is where we'll get like a 5-minute change character reaction. So it'll flip bearish on the 5-minute. And it would also be our 15-minute level too. So Bitcoin confirms its drop. Link should follow along with it too. Its positioning is kind of similar in the sense where like where you prepare for your barriers, it's kind of the same reasoning here. We got the demand zone, built an order block around here. So if we revisit this, you can prepare for a potential, that confluence, you should prepare for a potential reversal off that area. So look a little bit like, based on the current structure at least. 1 to 2.25. It could evolve to 1 to 3, but manage your risk and your emotions based on this being your primary target. Okay. So that's Link for you, man. We got a request from David C to look at virtual. Matthew saying, I appreciate you putting the signals in the Discord because you can't always come to the live. I hear you, man. No problem. Let's pull up virtuals. I got about 40 minutes, by the way, guys, from here. Quite a bit of time still. Virtuals. So virtuals hit its little supply concern that we were looking at, and then started plummeting. Except now it's below its 50 and 200 EMA. Virtuals, bro. So $1.37. Okay, so we hit that macro area of interest. Is that also a golden pocket area? No, but it's the zone, part of the same zone, just been refined from the supply concern. Yeah, whenever you like have a large zone of interest with your Fibonacci, try your best to look inside of this for more confluences to refine your zone of interest. My alarm scared the crap out of me. Okay. Oh man, I jumped. Yeah, try. So Bitcoin's breaking. We got 13 minutes left before it confirms. Link, same thing. Let's see. Anyways, yeah. So when you have your 786 and golden pocket area, the zone of interest, yeah, you can try your best to refine it using like any form of other confluences you can find. Like here, we knew there's a large amount of liquidity resting above this high that could be used as exit liquidity to cause the price to go down. That area was front run, at least on this chart. This is MEXC's chart. And we had a supply concern there and confluence with that. And yeah, we kind of hit that perfectly. Had a lower time frame, like I believe it was like a head and shoulders, and we started going back down from there. But now we're coming back to we have this form of confluence here. So if I draw this out, we got this demand zone here. Just pull it long, send this to back. The confluence of that demand zone, the previous value area high here that actually kind of resulted in that demand zone being born, right? We were crunched between the point of control and the value area high, and then we ended up forming that area while also building support off the 200-day to help drive the price to go up again. So there could be residual buy orders here in this zone. So if we hit our head off this 200-day EMA and we come down, we could prepare for a potential, at least a short-term scalp long. I don't know if it'll be more of a longer-term long, just because we'll have the 200-day barrier in our face, and on top of that, the 50 that will catch up with it. If the 50 crosses over the 200, then we'll have what's called like a death cross. And a lot of traders make trade decisions based on those crosses. So it might enhance bearish volume if we have those crosses. So just be aware of that. But this is a potential area of interest that could induce a bounce. To like help predict that full rotation down, we could see we got like a rounded top right now. What's Bitcoin doing? We're not going to get the close. We'll see. Still got 10 minutes left. Yeah, a little bit awkward. Same kind of story though. Demand zone down here, you got to be worried about. Order block confluence. So like, I would honestly wait for the break of structure for the continuation down. Like we already got the bearish change character occurrence on the 15-minute like here. So I'd just wait for the break of structure for the continuation. Stop loss guard here. If the R&R is worth it to target around here. If we get the lower low, below this area, then we basically confirmed the 200-day as resistance from that lower low. And that could induce a full rotation down to like 116. But that's virtuals. So I'm pretty bearish on this too, unfortunately. Let's see what happens if we get these confirmations. Okay. Next request. Can you explain why the fixed range volume profile is pulled like that? Let's see if you're talking about Bitcoins. So here, I pull a fixed range volume profile when we have an opposing change of character against supply concern. Right. So it's mainly based on the 5-minute structure where we had this like impulse move, base, impulse move, right? Whenever I see that, I prepare for that to be the top of a range. In this case, it held us support. But you should always prepare for these to act as resistance once you have your opposing change of character. And we got one like shortly afterwards, like right here, on like the 15-minute structure. And then I was watching this as a potential barrier. So once this 15-minute change of character occurred, I started pulling the fixed range during that moment. We end up using the value area high as support. But yeah, if we get acceptance back inside of it, then I use this data to help me determine potential barriers along the way down. And if we get that acceptance in there, then I include all this data part of the range-bound value area data. However, right now, as this behavior is starting, like we might end up having a separate value area altogether over here with this as our demand zone. And this potentially being our area of interest too. It's not going to give us that close. This is why you wait for price acceptance and not just candles across certain areas. Because that's how you get trapped. If you get the candle closure, instead of just a wick, that price acceptance will dramatically help improve your win rate. AGB, we can look at that. I don't think we have a separate chart for it, so BitGet token, right? So let's look at that on the BitGet chart. Oh man. Okay. Oh, okay. So we looked at this recently. So this is BGB on the daily. We hit our head off of the value area high. We've got rejection off of the 50-day simultaneously alongside that. We just recently lost the 200-day EMA. We're at the value area low. So like the bullish thing we could potentially wait for is the fact that we've got liquidity below these wicks that could be used as entry liquidity that could induce a reversal. And you have opportunities here to potentially prepare for an SFP. These are both unswept levels. What you don't want to have is a candle close below these levels because it will invalidate the idea that the liquidity was used as entry liquidity. It could also be used as exit liquidity. So just be aware of that. Going into lower time frames. Right now we're testing that previous value area low. We can actually update this a little bit. To the point where we exited. So it makes a little more sense. There you go. So now you can see a little more clearly that it's a retest of the value area low. We're currently below the VWAP. So we could come down and scoop the low here. But if we get a little bit lower, we can grab that liquidity at 387.1. So here I would definitely prepare for any form of reversal structure like double bottoms or an SFP right around here. And if you get the acceptance back inside the range, you could potentially do a short-term scalp back up to $4.08. But if we get the close back above here and we have that kind of pathing, then we could double bottom our way back inside the value area and have a really good front run to a huge, like a really good entry for back up, move back up there. Like based on everything's kind of their positioning right now, we could have a short-term drawdown and bounce back up, but we're also at like a make it or break it moment for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin kind of fails that, then BGB could fall down a lot harder. And if we zoom out and see where it could fall down to, if that does happen, like we do have this macro momentum. We had this buyer's momentum that's pretty much held it up since its creation or since its listing on its own exchange, around 10 cents. And so we could fill that negative space down to $2.40, which would work really, really well in confluence with Bitcoin falling down to its macro value area low at 93K. So like Bitcoin and BGB might talk to each other around this area where those confluences of Bitcoin's positioning can meet with this momentum here too. So that could be a really, really good opportunity. But it could take, could take a week or two for us to get down here. So yeah, short term, prepare for the potential SFP. We're at really good levels of liquidity. Long term, if that fails, or we fail to get acceptance back inside this value area, then prepare for more of a downtrend all the way down to like $3 or so. So I hope that helps you out. That's a pretty intense scenario that we've got going on for BGB. So I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Some of my favorite streamers use their YouTube live to freedom discuss ideas and then cut their live stream into shorter videos for content, or in this case, create buy signals, etc. Oh, I gotcha. Yes, I'm working on doing that too, where I'm like cutting out like some of the stuff that we talk about during our lives. Like if there's a lesson or something that someone need to know or question that you want to answer, and I feel like a lot of people can benefit from that question being answered, then I'll put it as a short. But I need to improve the quality of these streams. Like right now we have like 180p, or 1080p. I need to bring it up to 4K so that when we are like zooming in on this tiny little box that I have for my camera, because I can adjust it like this and stuff, but you guys can't see the chart very well. Okay, I've got another roughly 25 minutes. What do I think of VIX ETFs? What's the VIX one? I haven't heard of the VIX ETFs. VIX. Do we look at, oh, it's a Canadian ETF. Interesting. I will look into that so I can give you a better answer, but I'm not sure. I haven't dived into the VIX one yet. Unless you're asking me to do TA on it, I could do that. Okay, we got a couple requests to look at Ethereum. So we'll look at Ethereum. Kyle, can you recommend a website that has an aggregated order depth heat chart for altcoins, Solana, like CoinGlass has for Bitcoin and Ethereum? I would if I had one for you. I don't have one for you. I think there's I remember asking ChatGPT this question if there was one. He does. There is a couple of ones out there, but they're not great. I'm trying to find a better option out there for you. I will give you that answer as soon as I find it, and I'll start. Honestly, I'll start using it. It's like I could love something like that. I've been using it for like Bitcoin and Ethereum has good ones, but for like other altcoins, there's not really much out there, at least that I'm aware of. But yeah, let's look at Ethereum really quick. We got a couple requests for that, and then we'll look at Solana next. Okay, so this is Ethereum on the 30 minutes. Wild. came down to our area of interest. Just updating our fixed range here. We left it here. We were hopeful for a confirmation of a reversal here. We needed to have a close below this on like a 15 or the 5. The 15. Oh no, it was a 5. We need to have a 5-minute candle close above this level, but we instead kept getting lower lows, and we ended up losing that valley area, and we lost a more macro valley area as well. We came down to this demand zone. This is previous demand zone over here. I was surprised to see it hold up this, but there's like confluences as well from the past. I was thinking that we would get, if we were going to like come down here, that we'd get a full rotation down to 2000. But yeah, we held up around 2100. I believe this is the level actually that Brian was looking at too for potential longs. We've got a break of, we got the change of character occurrence, and we're coming back to mitigate the supply risk here. I'd mark this as its own fixed range volume profile, and watch your local value area high here. We got liquidity here. We could be sweeping. Yeah, we're sweeping it now. Like that's not perfect. Let's see, you get that. There we go. So let's see if we get we swept liquidity, but let's see if we get a local SFP. So if this candle or an upcoming candle sweeps above the liquidity here, then closes back inside its local range, then we would have an SFP that could give us a rotation back down to our local barriers. As we range, if we create a low within that range, you're going to have to watch that low with your SFP as well. So yeah, I'll be prepared for shorts as well. Short-term shorts, nothing crazy. We do have like a CME gap above us on pretty much all these charts when we have these drops, so we could fill that too. But I would like to wait for structural confirmation of that move back up there first. So basically, if you're in any existing positions from down here, then awesome. You've got some wiggle room to prepare for a potential correction that could bring us down. If we get that warning sign, then you can use that warning sign to potentially close some of your position. But if we instead get continuations, then awesome. Then you can stay into your trade and ride it up to this supply concern here. With this being your initial barrier right here. Yeah. Let's see what happens. See if we built the structure for continuation, or if we get that reversal with the SFP being the first like opportunity that we've got. But I'd start on the 5-minute. If we don't get it on the 5-minute, rotate to higher time frames. With SFPs, it's easier to start on the lower time frames and rotate your way up as it validates in higher and lower time frames, right? So it validates itself on the 3-minute, rotate to the 5 really quickly, then rotate to the 15, stuff like that. At least that's how I do it. I find it's a lot easier to manage starting from lower time frames and working your way up instead of the opposite way like you normally would with most TA. Because if you can try to get it in the lower time frames, then you get that front run to the higher time frames. Okay, Solana was the next request. Let's pull that up. Let's see. I should also make sure I move back to Bitcoin. Okay, that we get the higher high. So this key level has been invalidated, but what did it rotate to? Rotate to pretty much where we were looking before. We might have improved our R&R. It all depends on what kind of stop loss guard we get, because it could, even though it will be a higher price, doesn't mean you'll get a better R&R. Still need a better stop loss guard. Solana, okay. Solana has been got butt kicked from Batman and has a hard time recovering ever since. You got the head and shoulders here. You flagged our way back down further, flagged our way again, down further, flagged our way down a lot further. Just creating, it's just fractalizing its way down to a key level of interest. This is a structural value area low here. So let's zoom out and see where we are. We gotta zoom a lot further. There it is. Okay. So we're at a really strong area of interest right now. So this was a range that we were in for about like from March. It started in March and ended in November. So it's a pretty significant area of interest, 250 days old. And if we used it as confluence here for this double top to define this reversal, because once we got acceptance back inside this value area, where do you target? You target the opposite side of the value area while being mindful of the point of control along the way. And along the way down, we did have some bounces off that POC, but then eventually got our full rotation down to the value area low, which is what we're expecting could happen with Bitcoin, right? Now that we are at that macro value area high right now, its positioning is suggesting that if we get that full acceptance with the lower low, then we get a rotation down to 93K. We'll see if Bitcoin holds, but if it fails to hold, then I think that everything else will fail to hold their key levels too, right? Alts usually bleed like crazy when Bitcoin loses its key levels. We got this downtrending momentum evolved. All right, and then the lower time frames, 15-minute, we got our descending double bottom, our change of character on the 15. Ever since we got the change of character on the 15-minute, this trade would have been fine. We would have had a good stop loss guard here. Your barrier concern would be here. We broke through it. Our next area of concern is here where this liquidity is. Now, Solana is great at giving SFP, so we're at an area of interest right now for a potential SFP. Supply concern here, we got a mark. Let's see if we grab liquidity from up here. Let's see if we sweep that. If not, let's see if we sweep the local liquidity here. But I'd prefer if we were to grab that before coming down. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, basically sweep this liquidity, close back inside the range, then target the low. If we break the low, stay for the continuation. Yeah, nothing crazy on Solana yet. But yeah, looking good so far. We got the